So we're looking at a linear equation, and we are going to have to come up with some ordered pairs, and that means we need to find some solutions to this equation that says 4x minus y equals 5. Now in an ordered pair, the first number is always x and the second number is y. So in this case, the first two examples, we actually know what x is, and we're going to find y. So the first one, x is right here, x is 0. So if x is 0, let's rewrite the equation that says 4 times x, which is 4 times 0, minus y equals 5. And we solve this for y, and 4 times 0 is 0. And we end up with this equation, and we don't need to write the 0, so I'm just going to cross it off. And remember that the way we get rid of that negative is to divide by a negative 1. And so the first answer is that y equals a negative 5. So the second one says x is 1, so let's go ahead and do that one. That says 4 times x, 4x, right? There's 4x, and that's 1, minus y equals 5. And this equation just looks like this, and now you understand why learning how to solve equations was so important. So if I take away a 4, we're trying to isolate y. So I'm going to take away that 4 on both sides, and don't forget the negative sign. That's negative y equals 1. And again, with dividing by a negative 1, we get y equals negative 1. So this next one here, when x was 1, y is a negative 1, and the last one gives us y is 5. So we're going to go back here and look at the equation that says 4x minus y, but y is 5. 4x minus 5 equals 5. And we isolate x. This is a two-step equation. We're going to add 5 to both sides, and we get 4x equals 10. And last step is to divide by 4. And we're going to get a fraction, and it's okay to leave it improper. So it's 10 over 4. It's not in simplest form, so we will reduce it to 5 halves. So there is that problem right there. Now, we're looking at a new equation that says 3x plus 5y equals 15, and we're going to fill out these ordered pairs. And this first one says 3x, but it shows right there that x is 0. So that will be 3 times x plus 5y equals 15. And whenever we have something like this where it's going to be a 0, I'm just going to cross it off, and we're going to pretend it doesn't exist. And we're going to go ahead and take this equation, we're going to divide it by 5. We're going to isolate y. This is why we know how to solve, or we learned how to solve one-step equations. The 5's disappear, they turn into 1's, and we're left with 1y equals 3. So when x was 0 and I put a 0 for x, y was 3. So let's take a look at the second one here. If you take a look, y is 0 right there. And we are going to rewrite 3x plus 5y, but instead of writing 5y, it's going to be 5 zeros. And then equals 15. So we're going to go ahead, and 5 times 0 is 0. We're just going to cross that off. And it's a one-step equation, so we will divide by 3. And those disappear. They turn into 1's. 3 divided by 3, and x is 5. So over here, when y was 0, the ordered pair, x had to be a 5. Now the last one, x is a negative 5. So that says 3 times x, which is 3 times negative 5, plus 5y equals 15. And we are going to solve this for y. So we're going to multiply 3 times negative 5. That's a negative 15. And we're going to plus 5y equals 15. And we're going to go ahead and finish solving this equation. We're going to isolate the y. We'll add 15 to both sides. And that's going to let me have, this turns into 0. And we end up with 5y equals 30. And when we divide by 5, we get y equals 6. So that finishes out the ordered pairs for this problem. This equation is pretty simple. It's just x plus y equals 3, and all it's really asking us is how many different ways can we add up two numbers and get a 3. So we don't even really have to show a whole lot of steps here. If x is 0, then the question is, what would y have to be to make 3? And the answer is y would have to be 3. So there is our first ordered pair. And the second one is saying, what if x is 1? There's x right there. So what if x is 1? X plus y equals 3. That turns into 1 plus y equals 3. And in order for you to do that, we're going to just take that y out. Y would have to be a 2. So when x is 1, y is 2. And the last one, y is a -1. It's a tiny bit tricky, but not really. And it's, say, x plus a -1 equals 3. And if you want to solve that, it's a one-step equation. Let's just rewrite it as x minus 1 equals 3, and we will add a 1 to both sides, and we'll get x equals 4. And there you go. And now it's time to put these dots on a graph because we are also asked to draw a line. So let's do that. When x is 0, y is 3. So don't go over any, but go up 3. There's that dot. When x is 1, y is 2. And remember, this is a linear equation, so we better have something that looks like a line. When x is 4, y is down 1. And you can see this line that's going to do something like that. And I'm just drawing my best free-handed straight line. I kind of miss it right there. Not terrible, not the greatest thing I've ever done. And there you go. Let's take a look at this last one. And this says y equals 1/3 x. And when you see the bottom, that just means that we're going to divide x, which is right there. We're going to divide the x by 3. So anytime there's an x, we're just going to divide it by 3. So I'm going to write the first one out so you can see it. 1/3 of x, which x in this case is, the first one is a -3. And 1/3 of -3 just means 3 divided into -3. So 1/3 of -3 is just a -1. And so this first one is a -1. And 1/3 of 0, well, that's pretty simple. It's 0. And 1/3 of +3 for this last one, let's just make that a positive for a second. That's just +1. And now we got our 3 ordered pairs. So I'm going to go left 3 and down 1. That's that first ordered pair. And then I'm going to at the origin 0, 0, and then over 3 up 1. And I end up with this equation right here. It's kind of a less steep. It's got a smaller slope. And there it is, y equals 1/3 x.